Good afternoon and welcome to a Thursday edition of the show. It is The Arena and I'm Samson Oloyede. It's time to keep you abreast of what's happening when it comes to the commercial side of sports. We'll start with football. Now, Qatar estimated that November's World Cup will add $17 billion to its economy as it navigates a host of unique challenges associated with the event. A previous estimate placed the figure at $20 billion. The country projects that 1.2 million people will travel to the Gulf country, which has a population of just under 3 million. With only 90,000 hotel rooms in the host city of Doha, providing accommodations for that many tourists is forcing Qatar to take some unusual measures. Qatar leased 2 luxury cruise liners, which can hold nearly 10,000 guests between them, while rooms on the ships range from $179 to at least $800 per night. Event organizers are also offering tents in deserts known as fan villages, some of which are being offered for more than $200 per night. Revenue will be generated from aviation as well, with Qatar Airways and other airlines providing more than 180 shuttle flights from Doha to nearby cities. Though alcohol sales are prohibited in much of the country, organizers are also considering sales inside football stadiums and have said that fans will be able to drink in designated areas. Still talking football, newly promoted English second-tier football club Sunderland have confirmed that French businessman Louis Dreyfus has become the team's new majority shareholder after increasing his holding to 51%. Louis Dreyfus has acquired all the shares in the championship outfit previously held by Charlie Medvin, who has now left the club, and more from Stewart Donald, whose holding is now 19%. 24-year-old Louis Dreyfus has been the biggest shareholder at the Stadium of Light since arriving on West Side in February of last year, but the ownership structure has been a contentious issue in recent months. Louis Dreyfus only bought 41% of shares during an apparent takeover 16 months ago, leaving previous owner Donald with 34%, Medvin with 5%, and Juan Sartori, the Uruguayan businessman, retaining 20%. Louis Dreyfus has maintained the willingness to increase the stake at the right price, and he has now completed a deal that gives him a 51% majority ahead of the new championship season. Now, in the world of basketball, the San Antonio Spurs have confirmed a new multi-year jersey partnership with Austin-based financial technology firm Self Financial. Self Financial's logo will feature on Spurs jerseys during the 2022-2023 season, replacing Frost, the team's first jersey patch sponsor in 2018. The fintech brand will also gain brand visibility across other Spurs inventory, including practice jerseys, warm-up shooting shirts, and on NBA G League outfits, the Austin Spurs jerseys. Now, no financial details have been reported for Self Financial's first partnership with a professional sports team, but the Spurs will acquire equity in the company. In addition, Self Financial will feature in the Spurs broadcast and radio platforms and will gain brand visibility at the team's AT&T Center home. The partnership will also see Self and Spurs Sports Entertainment launch an annual Building Dreams Award, which will provide $10,000 to a leader of a non-profit community impact organization and launch a Building Dreams content series around the initiative. And wrapping up sports business news at this time, the organizing committee of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics have revealed the final cost of the games came to 1.4 trillion yen, which is an equivalent of $13 billion at the time. At today's rates, with the yen at a 24-year low against the dollar, the hosting figure is roughly $10.4 billion. The projected cost of Tokyo 2020 has varied since the Japanese capital was named as host in 2013. Organizers had initially projected total cost to be 734 billion Japanese yen, which is an equivalent of $7.3 billion at the time. A report from the Japanese government's Board of Audit in 2018 stated the cost of Tokyo 2020 was likely to reach $25 billion. Now, the arrival of COVID-19 and subsequent year-long delay of the Games had a dramatic impact on costs. A study by the University of Oxford released in September 2020 revealed Tokyo 2020 was already the most expensive Summer Olympics in history. In December 2020, organizers confirmed the postponement of the Olympics and Paralympics would cost an additional 294 billion Japanese yen, an equivalent of $2.2 billion today. The revised budget for Tokyo 2020 was later pegged at $12.6 billion, although it had been reported that the actual cost of the event will be at least twice that much. The privately funded organizing committee budget covered about $5.9 billion, while the International Olympic Committee contributed $1.3 billion. Local sponsors parted ways with $3.4 billion, and organizers also listed $500 million in income from unspecified insurance payouts. The federal government, the latest about our state of basketball is that the federal government of Nigeria has finally lifted the ban on international basketball tournaments, and the lifting of the ban is with immediate effect. Beyond that, the federal government has also decided through the Ministry of Sports and Youth Development to recognize and ratify the election that took place in Benin, which brought about Musakida, that's the Musakida-led board, as the presidency of the Nigerian Basketball Federation. So finally, the crisis that has engulfed, the leadership crisis now that has engulfed Nigerian basketball for over 7 years is finally coming to rest. And from reports, we hear that in the coming days, there will be, a swearing in or an induction ceremony, if you want to call it that, for the Musakida-led board. Remember, we had two elections take place parallel simultaneously in terms of the one in Abuja and the one in Benin. But the Ministry of Youth and Sports has decided, to ratify and recognize that took place in Benin. Again, this is good news, as it means that the men's basketball team, known as the Tigers, will be able to continue their World Cup qualifying series with the third window open next month, and that will be taking place in Rwanda. And you would expect that the team will get back to training camp and what have you. So that's for the men's team. Again, for the women's team, talking about our women's basketball, it's dicey right now. Remember that the Tigers qualified for the FIBA World Cup, which is to take place later this year, and they were meant to represent Africa as the defending champions. The ladies have won it 3 times on the trot, but unfortunately, as a result of the federal government's 2-year ban initially, they got replaced by Mali. So right now, the decision is not in our hands when it comes to having our ladies, the Tigress as they are known, participating at this year's FIBA World Cup. It will be the decision of FIBA, which is the governing body, the global governing body of basketball, that will determine if the Tigress will have to, will have their place back, or it's Mali, who was named as our replacement, that will go on to participate at the World Cup. But it's definitely not a good news for the Tigress, considering that the ban affected their chances of playing at the World Cup, something that they won and earned, the hard way by defending their title when it comes to, the African Championship. Again, as I said, the ladies have won the title 3 times. They are the defending champion from 2017 to 2019 to 2021. They are 3-time champions when it comes to women's basketball on the continent. So let's see how it is. We hear that negotiations are ongoing right about now, and that we would see, the outcome of the negotiations in terms of the possibility of the Tigress participating at the World Cup. But right about now, the decision is not in our hands. It's FIBA who will determine the fate of the ladies, and we just hope that the decision is favorable, as it were. We'll move away from there now and let's talk about football. Yes, the opium of the society. I'll have to start with one that has to do with a football icon, talking about the late Diego Armando Maradona. The latest about him, or his death, is that the medical staff that treated him have now been charged with culpable homicide, and that's a judge's decision following, a team of medical experts, 20 of them, who decided after investigating that the medical team were reckless in their treatment of the footballing icon. It must be said, 8 medical staff are involved. You have the personal doctor and neurosurgeon of Diego Maradona, that's Leopoldo Luque, who is definitely one of the 8 involved, or 8 that have been charged, rather. You also have the psychologist, Maradona psychiatrist, 2 doctors and 2 nurses, including their boss. All 8 of them have now been charged with culpable homicide, and the trial is set for later this year. No date has been, penned down for the trial to begin, but this will probably just bring a bit of closure to, the family of Maradona. It must be said that Maradona's treatment, according to the medical, reports, was rife with deficiencies and irregularities, among other things. And it's on that basis that the judge ruled that as a result of the medical expert's decision that these 8, medical staff are culpable of homicide. So they would definitely face, undergo trial. Let's see how this, happens. Again, remember that Diego Armando Maradona died at the age of 60 in Buenos Aires in November 2020 following a heart attack. Just before then, he had, surgery for brain blood clots, which was just earlier in that same month. So the footballing world still misses him, and I'm sure that his family misses him more. We hope that they find closure at the end of this process, as it were. Moving on from there now, let's talk about, football matters off the field, off the pitch. Apparently, Sadio Mane, yes, the move has been completed, and he has signed a 3-year deal with Bayern Munich. He has been unveiled, and for Sadio Mane, his move to Bayern Munich definitely signals a new era. He leaves Liverpool as a club legend, or a cup legend rather, following his successful 6-year stint at Anfield, where he won all trophies available, also scoring 120 goals in 269 games for the club, as well as registering 48 assists. Now it starts a new journey with Bayern Munich, and it's a 3-year deal. The price tag is about £32.5 million. 27 million pounds will be paid initially to Liverpool, and you also have additional 7.5 million talking about add-ons and what have you in terms of team-related performances as well as individual performances. So it's definitely a good deal for Liverpool, considering Mane is 30 years old and was entering the final 12 months of his career. The man also has moved on from there.